Spirituality isn't escape, it's integration. Most people don't struggle with spirituality because they lack discipline. They struggle because they're trying to escape their lives instead of inhabit them. And I don't say that with judgment. I say that with compassion because for a long time, spirituality was marketed as a way out, a way to transcend pain, a way to rise above the messiness of being human. But real spirituality doesn't remove you from your humanity, it returns you to it. Spirituality isn't about leaving your body. It isn't about bypassing your emotions. It isn't about pretending you're healed. It's about becoming present inside your actual life, inside your nervous system, inside your choices, inside your relationships, inside your patterns. If your spirituality doesn't feel grounding, if it doesn't feel stabilizing, if it doesn't feel honest, then it isn't integrated yet. And that doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you failed. It simply means your soul is ready for a more mature relationship with spirit. A relationship that isn't aesthetic, a relationship that isn't performative, a relationship that isn't dependent. It's a relationship that's direct, quiet, embodied. Spiritual maturity isn't about having more practices. It's about having more presence. It's about being able to sit with yourself without immediately trying to fix, override, or transcend what you feel. It's about allowing your body to be part of the conversation, your emotions to be part of the conversation, your intuition to be part of the conversation, because spirituality doesn't live in the clouds. It lives in your capacity to stay with yourself. And in this episode, we're going to walk through what it actually looks like to integrate spirituality through the body, the emotions, the mind, the heart, the voice, the perception, and ultimately into self-governance. Not as an idea, not as a fantasy, but as lived experience. Real lived experience. So if you've been feeling disconnected, if you've been questioning what you believe, if you've been sensing that your relationship with spirit is changing, you're not losing your spirituality. You're graduating into a truer version of it. Spirituality is an escape. It's integration. Let's talk about what that really means. Spirituality doesn't begin in the heavens. It begins in the body. If your nervous system doesn't feel safe, if your body feels braced, tight, or on guard, no amount of prayer, meditation, or ritual will feel real. Because safety is the first language of integration. A lot of people think spiritual safety means nothing bad will ever happen to me, and that's not true. Spiritual safety means I can be with myself when life happens. It means I trust that I can meet my experiences without abandoning my body, without disassociating, without spiritual bypassing. Safety in the divine isn't about constant peace. It's about internal stability. It's the quiet knowing I am held even when I don't understand, even when I'm grieving, even when I'm in transition. When spirituality isn't rooted in safety, it turns into performance. You start chasing signs, you start collecting practices, you start looking outside yourself for reassurance. Not because you're broken, but because your system is looking for something to ground it. So the real root question becomes, do I feel safe being here? Safe in my body, safe in my emotions, safe in my becoming? And if the honest answer is not always, that's not failure. That's honest awareness. Safety is built through presence, through slowing down, through letting your breath deepen, through allowing your body to feel what it feels without immediately trying to transcend it. This is where spirituality becomes real. Not in the clouds, not in cells, not in the muscles, in the nervous system, because the divine doesn't bypass your humanity, it inhabits it. And when safety becomes your foundation, spirituality stops feeling frantic, it stops feeling urgent. It starts feeling more like home. From this root of safety, we can move into emotional honesty, and that's the sacral. Once safety exists in the body, emotion naturally rises. Not as something to fix, not as something to purify, but as information. A lot of people were taught that spirituality means only feeling gratitude, peace, and love. But that isn't emotional honesty, that's emotional editing. Real spirituality doesn't ask you to sanitize your feelings. It asks you to bring them, all of them, anger, grief, disappointment, jealousy, longing, joy, desire, confusion. You don't become less spiritual for having human emotions. You become more integrated because emotion is movement, energy in motion. And when emotion has nowhere safe to move, it turns into stagnation, it turns into numbness, it turns into performative positivity. Emotional honesty with God isn't, I should feel better. It is, this is what I actually should feel. No filter, no spiritual language polish, no pretending, just presence. You're allowed to say, I'm angry and I don't understand why. I'm sad and I don't know what to do with it. I'm tired of being strong. I'm confused. I want more. I'm grateful. I'm in awe. I'm hurting. All of it belongs in the conversation. Because spirituality isn't a performance for the divine, it's a relationship. And relationships deepen through honesty, not perfection. When you stop trying to be a good spiritual person, you start becoming a real one. And realness is what creates intimacy. Emotional honesty doesn't push the divine away. It invites the divine closer. From emotional honesty, we move into personal authority, and that's the solar plexus. When you feel safe in your body and honest in your emotions, something starts to emerge. A quiet sense of self. Not ego, not dominance, not superiority, but authority. Spiritual authority isn't loud. It doesn't need to convince, it doesn't need to posture. It doesn't need to convert anyone. It's internal. It sounds like, I know what feels true for me, and I respect that. Authority without arrogance means you stop outsourcing your power, but you also stop trying to control other people's paths. You realize everyone is walking their own curriculum. Everyone is meeting the divine through their own lens, and you don't need to be ahead of anyone to be valid. You don't need to be special to be connected. You don't need a title, a label, or a hierarchy. Your lived experience is enough. Spiritual maturity isn't measured by how much you know. It's measured by how grounded you are in what you know. Can you stand in your truth without needing agreement? Can you follow your knowing without needing applause? Can you change your mind without collapsing into shame? That's authority.
Authority is rooted
Not
inside
rigidity,
you.
not domination, sovereignty.
Love stops being a transaction.
Authority without
It
arrogance
becomes
feels
a
calm.
state.
It feels steady. It feels
A lot of people
unforced.
confuse
It doesn't
devotion with
rush to prove
self-erasure.
itself.
They think
because it
loving the
doesn't doubt
divine means
itself.
surrendering their voice, their needs, their boundaries, their
From
discernment.
personal
But
authority,
that is not
we move into
devotion.
the heart,
That's abandonment.
into devotion that doesn't erase
Real
the
devotion
self,
doesn't
and
require you to disappear.
that's the
It
heart.
requires you to be present. Devotion without dependency means I love the divine. I honor the divine. I walk with the divine. And I still listen to myself. I still choose myself. I still take responsibility for my life. Dependency says, tell me what to do, decide for me, save me from myself. Devotion says, walk with me, guide me, support me, but I will move my feet. The heart is meant to be open, not hollow, not empty, not waiting to be filled. When spirituality turns into dependency, people stop trusting their own inner compass. They wait for signs, they wait for permission, they wait for confirmation. But love doesn't cage. Love empowers. A mature relationship with the divine feels mutual, not hierarchical, not punishing, not fear-based. It feels like I am loved, I am supported,
Once you
I
stop
am
abandoning
responsible
yourself
all
in
at once.
devotion, a new question appears.
From the heart, we move into
Am I
expression,
willing to say what I actually believe?
into speaking what is actually
Not what I
true.
was taught, not
that's
what
the
sounds
truth.
acceptable, not what keeps me fitting in, but what feels true now. Spirituality evolves. Your relationship with the divine evolves. And that means your language will change, your definitions will change, your understanding will deepen, simplify, collapse, rebuild. That's not instability, that is growth. Speaking your spiritual truth doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means being honest about where you are. It means being able to say, this is what makes sense to me right now. This is what I'm questioning. This is what no longer resonates with me. This is what I'm exploring. A lot of people stay silent because they're afraid of being wrong. But see, silence born from fear isn't humility, it is self-censorship. Your lived experience is valid data. Your inner revelations count. You don't need to translate your truth into someone else's doctrine. You don't need to package it in spiritual buzzwords. You don't need to make it palatable. You only need to make it honest. Speaking your truth isn't about convincing anyone. It's about staying in integrity with yourself. And when you speak from integrity, your voice becomes clean, not loud, not aggressive, clear. From honest expression, we move into perception.
As perception
And to
opens,
seeing clearly
so
without
does
fantasy.
imagination.
And that's the third eye.
And imagination is powerful, but imagination is not the same as intuition. Intuition is quiet, neutral, grounded. Fantasy is loud, charged, emotionally loaded. Discernment is the difference. Spiritual maturity isn't seeing more visions, it's seeing more clearly. Not every thought is a message. Not every coincidence is a directive. Not every sensation is prophecy. Discernment asks, is this calm? Is this grounded? Is this consistent? True intuition doesn't rush you. It doesn't threaten you. It doesn't pressure you with urgency or fear. It feels steady, simple, clean. Fantasy often feels exciting, inflated, urgent, special. But excitement alone isn't guidance. Discernment doesn't mean you distrust yourself. It means you respect yourself enough to pause, to breathe, to check. Does this align with my values? Does this support my well-being? Does this feel stabilizing? Clear perception is sober, not dull, sober. It's awake without being intoxicated by meaning. And when your perception is clean, your connection becomes reliable, not dramatic, not chaotic, stable. From discernment, we move into direct connection. No intermediaries, no middlemen. And that's the crown. At a certain point in spiritual maturity, you stop searching for someone to speak to God for you. You stop waiting for the perfect teacher, the perfect reader, the perfect channel. Not because teachers and mirrors don't have value, but because your connection becomes personal, direct, immediate. Crown energy isn't about floating above life. It's about knowing I can receive, I can listen, I can commune right here, right now. Direct connection doesn't mean you never seek support. It means you no longer outsource your authority. It means guidance becomes something you participate in, not something you passively consume. You realize the same intelligence moving through every mystic, prophet, and teacher moves through you. Not an identical expression, but an identical source. Direct connection feels simple, quiet, undramatic. It doesn't need spectacle. It doesn't need constant validation. It feels like a gentle internal yes, a subtle no, a nudge, a settling in. You learn to trust those signals, not perfectly, but consistently. Crown connection matures into companionship, not hierarchy, not fear-based obedience, relationship. You walk with the divine, you talk with the divine, you listen, you
Spirituality
respond,
begins
you
in safety.
co-create. It moves through emotion. From direct connection, it stabilizes in
move
authority.
into the final layer.
It softens
Self-governed
in devotion.
alignment. Spiritual
It
adulthood.
clarifies in expression.
And that's the soul
It
star.
sharpens in discernment. It deepens in direct connection. And eventually, it matures into self-governance. Self-governed alignment in spiritual adulthood. It's when you no longer need constant reassurance. You don't need daily signs to function. You don't need to be told what to do. You don't need to check in with the sky before making every move, because your alignment is internalized. You have built safety in your body, honesty in your emotions, authority in your will, devotion without erasure, truth in your voice, discernment in your perception, connection without intermediaries. So now, you can govern yourself, not rigidly, not harshly, but responsibly. Self-governance means I regulate my reactions. I own my decisions. I correct myself when needed. I don't blame spirit for my avoidance. I don't weaponize intuition to escape accountability. This is where spirituality becomes stable, not reactive, not chaotic, not dependent. Stable. You don't float away from the world. You become trustworthy inside it. You become a person who can host energy, hold space, lead yourself, move deliberately. And when a field becomes self-governed, it doesn't require external enforcement because integrity is internal. That's the goal. Not constant seeking, not endless initiation, but embodied maturity. Spirituality isn't escape, it's integration. And integration leads into alignment. And alignment leads to self-governance. That's the cleared gate. You've been waiting for permission to trust yourself. This is it. Not because you suddenly have everything figured out, not because you're flawless, but because you're present. And presence is the doorway. Spirituality isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself again and again and again. You don't need a new identity. You don't need a better aesthetic. You don't need to earn access to the divine. You are already inside the conversation. Your body is listening. Your emotions are communicating. Your intuition is speaking. Your awareness is maturing. Let it be simple. Let it be honest. Let it be human. Because the most spiritual thing you can become is integrated, grounded, self-governed. And if this episode met you, take a breath. Let something land. Let something settle. You don't have to rush into meaning. You don't have to force a conclusion. Just notice what feels true now. That's enough. Until next time, stay with yourself. Stay honest. Stay integrated. Queen Mama Moon here. Peace, y'all.